This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello, I'm Jeff.
I'm Ross.
And I'm Patrick.
Today, we're bringing it to you because we have been literally punching each other, kicking, pulling hair. Oh, you name it. But Ross, Pat's in shorts. I've had him by the hair on his legs. You name it. It's been awful, but we thought we'd bring it to you. We are trying to figure out between us what's probably the best paint range of the paints we've come into contact out there.
Yes.
And you probably have, you learned listeners and viewers, have probably a wide range more of them than maybe we have. But as usual, put in the comments what you like. And we're going to have a bit of a battering out of what ones we think are really good. So, should we kick off straight away? Everyone's favourite, or not favourite.
Everyone's favourite.
Everyone's used. Should we go with everyone's used?
Yes.
Citadel paints.
The great balancer. I think this is a good one to start with because it puts...
Yeah.
It's the one that everyone uses as the yardstick for which all of the paints are measured.
For better or worse.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
I'm going to come straight out and say it. It's the best paint range available on the market, in my opinion.
Going in strong.
You will not know that most people won't get it until you get the reason why. So we'll come to that at the end.
Okay. Fantastic.
Not of the show, of this section.
Well, then,
of the heat death of the universe.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
in
Yeah,
a billion
I'll
years.
let you know. I'll let you on my deathbed. I'll write why.
Right then, well, here's a question for you. Now I'll put it to Pat, and then I'll answer it myself as well. In your paint range that you use in your painting time, what percentage of what you paint with is Citadel?
Oh, blooming out! It can vary because I do paint reviews. So if I'm reviewing Vallejo, probably 0.
Yeah.
But
if you were like, I know that a lot of the time when you're painting for the fact that it's to do with your channel and to do with your world famous blog.
Fohammer.com.
Yeah, that's the fellas.
That's the one. And Fohammer on YouTube, which you can find at youtube.com/Fohammer. Fohammer now.
All of that's just going to be beeped.
Yeah. Do it. I'd love that, yeah. Which you can find.
Just it ends with just go .com.
Just replace me with Bill and Ben just doing Yeah.
I'll just get like a robot voice to just say
it's
something.
in all seriousness, it's always there. But yeah, like what percent? Go on then, Pat. You first. What percentage of yours is Citadel?
Initially I was like, I'm just thinking of the acrylics, but obviously you've got the contrast paints as well.
You mean transparent?
The transparent.
Well,
translucent.
No, Citadel contrast paints.
Okay.
Oh, he's been exact.
Yes. And I use them quite a lot. I don't use the acrylics as much as I used to because I use a lot of the AK paints, which I feel like I could talk more on. So, but when I
for the rest of the episode, man.
When I first started, 100% Citadel all the time, and I feel like that's how a lot of people start. If they're painting Warhammer, if you go into Warlord Games, they have an army painter rack.
Yeah,
because they're obviously not going to stock Citadel paints, I guess. So my route into it was picking up a box of Space Marines, buying the Citadel paints that I needed for them, and then gradually building everything up. But yeah, currently I would argue that it's probably 25% Citadel is what I use, which is not really that high, I don't think.
Okay. What about you?
I would say probably about 80%.
Yeah.
Citadel. Again, a bit like Pat's saying, a lot of that is contrast, especially at the moment because trying out a whole range of different ways of, I'm not going to say speed painting because I go back in and do layers over the top of it, but I'm using a lot of contrast at the moment because I've got a lot of crude to paint. So I'm using and which, as a sidebar to this, at the moment I've done crude where I'm spraying X amounts of them red, with a Colourforge red, and then I'm doing these other ones in like a blue-grey again from Colourforge, and then I've got Death Guard green, and I'm just spraying them in like 5s, and then I've got like a whole range of cool different colours for crude, which is one of the things you can do with crude that you can't do with virtually anything else in any of the other GW armies is that every single one of them can just be completely different to the previous one. And then the idea is that I'm painting 5 that will all be the same colour as each other, and then another 5. And do you know what? Christ, I've managed to get 2 the same colour. Not in the slightest.
Good Lord, brother. What is wrong with your eyes? I've been trying to build a website for months. Please tell me you've been using Squarespace. What? Squarespace? It's wonderful. Want me to tell you some features? I guess so. Well, you can start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated optimized SEO tools, so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. Anything else? Well, if you decide to sell anything, you can make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. You can accept credit cards, PayPal and Apple Pay, and in eligible countries offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay or ClearPay. Okay. It really is miraculous. With Fluid Engine, the next generation website editor from Squarespace, it's never been easier for anyone to unlock unbreakable creativity. Choose your website starting point and customize every design detail with a reimagined drag and drop technology for desktop or mobile. Stretch your imagination online with Fluid Engine, included in any new Squarespace site. Well, I'm glad I know about this now. Well, the best bit is, if you check out squarespace.com for a free trial, when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/thepaintingphase to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I've been wasting my life. Yeah.
Not the slightest. So I'm using a lot of the contrast, but I use Games Workshop quite a lot, and I've said this on the show before, and one of the reasons I do is because they're a language. Amongst YouTube, they are a language. You know, from the most average of people who paint and the most average of getting you by manners on YouTube to the top end painters. I'm talking about Henry Steele and Richard Gray. There are people like on that level are still using Citadel paints as well.
Yeah.
So they are a language. If you go in and you know nothing, you can find somebody who paints speed paints or paints to tabletop standard, and they can teach you how to use them. And then your top end boys who are Golden Demon winners are still using them. Richard Gray probably uses in a video is probably about 90% Citadel. So there's got to be something to say for them, hasn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think my sort of reasonings about why I think they're very good is they have every great paint system, or, well, every popular paint system, whether they're good or not, is up for debate, has a structure to it. So Citadel, you've got your base paints, you've got your layer paints, which is a bit frustrating, but it makes sense. You'd be like, if you're doing a Blood Angel, you go, oh, right, well, I'll use Mephiston red, and then I'll use Wild Rider red, and then, what's the third one? I can't remember.
Wazdaka
is a bit darker.
More into the burgundy spectrum.
Oh, yeah, it is. You're right.
It's normally Mephiston, Trollslayer, and thingy, and then Trollslayer Orange as the third.
It's like a dot highlight, potentially. Yeah, but there's another one that's something red, and I can't remember for the life of me what it is because I haven't used them.
Evil Sun
Scarlet.
Evil Sun Scarlet.
That's the badger. There we go. Everyone was yelling at the screen.
What was the other one? So we've done Mephiston.
It goes Mephiston red, Wild Rider red,
Evil Sun Scarlet,
and then you might do a dot with Trollslayer Orange or something.
And then they also have a Blood Angels contrast, don't they? Which they can.
They do have a Blood Angels, they have.
Flesh Tearers.
You've got Blood Angels red, which was the original contrast. You've also got Baal red.
That's right.
Which is the newer one that gives you more of a full coverage or something along those lines. So, good things about Citadel is I think it's a system that everybody knows.
Yes.
If you're going through your introduction to painting miniatures is through Warhammer, the chances are you know Citadel paints. Like some of the parts, people criticize them. They are a bit naff sometimes.
Some of the colours or the physical pots?
the physical pots. Yeah.
Over dropper bottles, you mean?
Yeah. And we've had a great chat with Tom Hibbard, who talks about all that sort of stuff, because it's kind of like, well, Dropper bottles are really good for airbrushing. Games Workshop don't make an airbrush, so they want theirs to look different.
Yeah.
Like they're the most unique bottle on the market, I guess, or paint pot on the market. Something I'm finding a bit annoying as I use the contrasts, I use them a bit infrequently, and then I might be like, oh, I'll try this blue, I'll try that one. Is that contrast paint ranges essentially from washes all the way up to completely opaque paints.
Like Black Legion.
Like Black Legion
Yeah.
is one coat coverage. I used some Storm Fiend recently on a Dreadnought, and I thinned it down, and it just covered over everything. There's like an inconsistency in
of
there
strength. Yeah.
that isn't explained well. Like you kind of have to go, oh, well, that one, you have to do this. And that, like, you have to do it through learning, which if you've spent £5 and you're like, oh, contrast paint, it will behave like this. A lot of them don't, which I think is a negative. Like contrast paints are fantastic, but like with the introduction of the new ones, it's kind of like, well, what defines a contrast paint now? If like Black Legion just covers over everything.
Yeah, but it's the same with paints as well, isn't it? Well, like when you look at, like, you know, you can look at the entire Citadel range and you can go, like, one of my, and I had this argument the other day, one of my top favourites is Rakarth Flesh.
Yes.
I absolutely love that colour. It's fantastic. But as soon as I posted it online going, oh, it's great. I can't remember what I posted. Oh, I do. It's a good anecdote.
Yeah, I remember what you posted as well. So I liked it.
But yeah, so in fact, I'll mention it quickly. So I went into Warhammer. I was in, I know you said Sutton in Ashfield. I wasn't. Stratford upon Avon.
Yes.
Yeah. An S in an A is where I was at.
Did you have to wander in and just be like, you would like something?
It's the only Warhammer shop in the UK where the staff wear a ruff.
They were lovely there. There was a lady who worked there. She was really nice, and they had a good community.
Yeah.
It was nice to see. We went in. It was after 3 o'clock, so they'd like close for lunch or something. We went in after 3, but like there were loads of younglings in there, which you don't see much in a Warhammer. And I was like, it's really nice to see you've got a community here. But I went in for nothing. When I go to different places in the UK for work and stuff, I'm like, if there's a Warhammer store, I've got to go in.
Yeah,
and then I was like,
top your geekness up a bit.
Exactly, yeah. And I was like, do I get Skaven Tide? Do I not? Do I? I didn't, but I went in there and I was like, right. So
Can I just say, it's a good job, because I'll tell you what, I picked a copy of that up the other day.
Heavy.
I was at Dungeons, and when my son was doing Dungeons and Dragons, I picked a copy of it up, and I'll tell you what, you'd have been cursing if you then had to carry that round the shops for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
Is it got 2 books in?
I don't know.
No
idea.
idea.
Is it the Spearhead rules?
Oh, you might have
as
2 books.
well
Only
as
good point, yeah.
Blum right always.
We were chatting about this on the Discord. Someone was saying how heavy it was, and we were like, "Oh, what's the miniature count?" And they were like, "Well, it's similar to Leviathan,
75
like
miniatures, I
70
think.
odd,
Yeah.
70 odd minis." But they were like, "You get Age of Sigmar. Is it 4th edition now?
Yeah, 4.
And then you also get the Spearhead rules in a separate book.
Oh,
so you
okay.
get 2
Oh,
books,
right.
which is why it's so heavy.
Probably heavy. Yeah.
That's quite good, but no dice.
Pass.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, there's no dice in the set, so it's a starter set.
Yeah.
And someone's written this. I haven't seen anyone point it out yet, but I think there's no dice in the box, and not really anyone saying anything about that.
Wow.
Like that should be if it's true.
GW's like shrinkflation stuff is a bit frustrating.
But because
Yeah.
it's this thing now where they sort of go, it's not a starter box anymore.
Yeah.
They go, it's your box for you moving editions.
Yeah.
It's not for new people to get into. The idea is them littler boxes that come out are the ones to get people. This is for, you're already embedded. This is just to give you your head
Let's
start.
wow you
Yeah.
into the next one because
Yeah.
you already care. Let's get you. Oh my God, that's amazing.
and-
Grab stuff.
Because Leviathan had no dice in it either.
Oh, didn't it? I didn't know
right,
that.
yeah.
And then I'm
yeah.
now struggling to remember whether Indomitus did. But I know Leviathan definitely didn't have any dice in it.
Yeah,
You know what-
Dominion had dice, I believe.
Yeah.
You know what did have dice? Space Hulk, when that came out, they were gorgeous. They were like cream and brown and all thingied together. And then when they re-released it, they just gave you boring white dice. And I only got the re-release. Gutted, so I want them dice.
Are
But
they-
anyway, go on.
Sorry, is Skaven Tide, is it all push fit?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think so.
because they usually are. That's always one thing I'm just like, why, if it's not for new people, why make it all
Because
push fit?
them push fit miniatures will go into them smaller boxes.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And already we've done a really good job of getting off paint.
Yeah, so let's get back to it. So
Be
as I
half
was
an hour
saying,
later and going,
went away at the
when I bought
weekend.
6th edition.
Yeah.
So the point I was making is,
Yeah.
if we track back through it, so I cracked it, and this will be a great thing for everybody to know on the channel. So you know how you go into Games Workshop or Warhammer and you go in for one pack of paint or one bottle of paint,
Yeah.
and you come out with tons of models and you've spent 200 quid and
Yeah.
no, I figured it out. I went in for nothing, genuinely nothing, came out with one pot of paint. There you go.
So
That's how
what
you do
have
it,
to
guys.
do.
You have to go in for nothing. You can't go in there pretending, I know I want a pot of paint, but I'm going to go in for that. You have to want nothing, and you'll come out with
But
the pot of
then,
paint.
but then
you need.
what happens when you need something?
Then you have to go in and spend 200 quid on models.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that's-
we don't make
just
the rules.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't
that's
need to.
how it
It's just
works.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Like, and if not that, a Toyo pin or something, you'll add more to it.
Yeah.
But that's it. But yeah, so like Rakarth Flesh, one of my favourite colours.
Yeah.
Good colour. It's a good colour.
Really good colour, but as soon as I posted that online, it was weird. Like my YouTube commenters were like, "Oh, that's a horrible colour. One of Games Workshop's worst."
No.
And then Facebook was more, "Oh, that's one of their best colours." But it's about approach to it, because I think, and I'm not saying there's a disparity between YouTubers and thingy, it's just like the ball started rolling on each community and kind of went down those paths.
Okay, yeah.
But obviously Rakarth Flesh is a bit of a chalkier paint, and you've got to just know that about it.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is no
Yeah.
reminder. And for someone like me, who is the poster child for ADHD, like I always forget. Like White Scar was it White Scar, or what was the really bad white that they did? Was it ceramite white or something that was like
Was it
chalk?
Corax white?
Corax White is
No,
bad.
that's the new one.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
new
yeah,
one.
might
So
be
that's
White
the-
there was
Scar
an
there.
old White
so it
bad.
might be White Scar or I think it might have been ceramite white.
Yeah, because White Scar's the current range.
Yeah. So it's ceramite white, which was the original base white, and you take that out and it is like chalk.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a bad colour. You just had to mix the living hell out of it.
Yeah.
And it dried really matte because of the amount of
And
probably
this is the-
chalk in it.
This is the
Yeah.
thing I think you should never have with a product, is it should never be you have to instantly start knowing its flaws to make
Yeah.
it work. You should open it and it should be flawless.
Yes.
Because opening a pot of paint and going,
Yeah.
opening a pot of paint and going, oh, well, I know I've got to do this and I know I've got to do that. That's like someone saying to you, isn't it? You know, you need to watch this TV series, but you need, it's not great for the first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I mean, I went through exactly this with the Villainy inks. You know, they had quite a lot of quirks, and I think for me it boiled down to, for the price, could I, like, you know, the colours, they're quite unique in that nobody really does coloured enamels, so,
Especially the red and the green. Yeah.
like the flesh one I thought was ace, but like for the essentially sort of streaking grime equivalents, I was just sort of like, well, I could do all of that, or I could just get that one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that was kind
which
of like,
is a slightly different greeny brown.
Yeah.
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 So I love their range of colours. I like their technicals. I think some of the technicals are really cool. Some
Yeah.
they're clever. And so generally, I really like them. I do find them a massive time waste at times, because I'm really bad for this. You know, as I open one, and when I open it and I go, well, that lid top didn't. And next thing you know, I sometimes paint in 20-minute bursts in my barber shop. And next thing you know, I've opened a pot of paint and I decided to spend 10 minutes with a scalpel cleaning it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they go, and there's my next client. You know, and
Yeah.
so the pots have their flaws. I like them. I hate that thing with the dropper bottle you squeeze and you go, am I going to just put it all over this wet palette, or is it just nothing's going to come out? So I generally like them, and like I say, I like the language of them. That people speak that language. So,
Colour match
yeah.
sprays as well. We haven't
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
good.
You know, and they're their sprays are generally pretty good. You know, you know, because I've come across worse than them. You know, I quite like the Army Painter range, but I don't know if I should really say it's for Army Painter, but one of their metal aerosols, rattle cans, Christ, I sprayed it at a good distance and was just losing detail on the miniature. Like,
Oh yeah. They can be a bit heavy.
you know,
some of
so-
their ones.
But so I generally think there is a lot to like, and also like you were saying with Space Marines when we did our show about that, they set a standard that everything then followed on from.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for Citadel, I think.
Yes.
That is why it's my favourite. It's nothing to like the paints are hit or miss. Like, I would refer to them as slightly above average in terms of general coverage and quality and thinness, but because of their accessibility, and it's not just in Warhammer. Like, people come into D&D painting. People come into, like, I obviously do a lot of 3D printing stuff. People are painting their 3D printed models with Citadel, and it's because it's. I think it might be the more expensive of all the paints, of all the acrylic paints.
Yeah,
but look at the value add. Think about all the free guides there used to be more by Warhammer, obviously, in the days back of Warhammer TV when it was on YouTube. I don't see that you get a lot of those anymore. It's now all in Warhammer Plus, or at least the majority.
They're still doing the tutorials.
Emma does a lot of them, doesn't she?
I think they have 2 or 3 presenters that are doing it. Yeah,
no worries. I don't see them as much anymore. So it might be that, or it might be that, you know, when I first got into Warhammer, that's where you go, and I've just gone sort of like, no, I wouldn't say beyond that, but outside of that realm. But again, it's everybody talks about it. You get all the free guides. You can pick it up and know how to use it originally. No one. I don't think anyone talks about the quirks of individual paints enough. Maybe Byron's one, Artis Opus.
Yeah.
He does tend to mention, like, oh, this paint's a bit more like that. Like, he's where I learned the contrast paints, where if you see it all thick in the bottom, then they're really intense coverage, whereas the other ones aren't so much, and stuff like that. But it's the most accessible paint, and even people
most easy to find.
One of the most easy to find, and like you can walk into like Game, which is a video game store here in the UK, and pick up Warhammer paint.
Yeah, they sell it in Game.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it's on, like, in order to, they've got some agreements. So you know how Game in the UK, and I think it's Barnes and Noble in the US, they've got those racks,
and it's session racks,
and it's like, here's your starter set, here's your exclusive to Game, like Space Marine Heroes game, and those sorts of things, and then pick up odd paints. There's an escape room in Nottingham, that sells Games Workshop paints, because they've obviously done the Games Workshop.
I went in there for the first time to do, I think it was like a Robin Hood themed escape room.
I've done that one, it's great.
We got the fastest time
of the day.
Humble brag. No, they had a blackboard and they wrote our name on and everything.
I'm not going to say what, but were you surprised by the
cap for you?
Yeah,
that was good. That
it was good.
Yes,
there was my favourite quote. I think I was like, someone was fiddling with something and I was like, oh my god, a secret door, I love my life. I was just like, that was,
who is it? What's the name? Can we give them a shout? They do Immaterium.
I'll put it on the screen. Because I was
I'll have to go and do the 40k one.
Because I haven't done it. Okay. But apparently it's really good.
Yeah.
But they have a rack, and I was like, why on earth are they selling Warhammer? But then they have the Warhammer thing.
Right then, put it on the spot. If you only take one with you,
one paint
from Citadel to move into another range, what paint are you keeping?
To move into another range?
Yeah.
Rakarth Flesh.
You?
I'm rubbish on the spot. Reichland Flesh Shade.
Oh, good one.
Oh.
Yeah, that's in my top 5 as well.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah. I don't think there's a better shade for gold, really.
There's one more. Drushi Violet. So after you've done you do, like everyone knows the gold recipe of paint it gold, cover it in Reichland Flesh Shade. If you want a deeper shadow, push some thinned, is it Drushi Violet, the purple wash? Yeah. Push some Drushi Violet into the things, and then when you dry brush over gold again, you can't tell there's a transition, but you've got more depth of colour.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to be really, really boring.
Agrax shades, yeah. Because
it's just a brilliant all-rounder.
We've been
put it over clothes, over leather, over a gun, you name it.
Yeah, because we've gone all contrast paints, all acrylics, the shades, they're brilliant.
Yeah,
and we like a lot of us have been like awesome. Yeah. And I think the shades are incredible. Yeah.
Who should we do next? Shall we do our Spanish friends?
I think we should do the biggest competition. I think we should do Army Painter.
Oh, okay.
Do you think they're the biggest? So you would say they're bigger than
arguably
Vallejo.
Okay.
Vallejo.
I think Army Painter are, like, certainly competition wise, volume of paint being sold and similar systems. I think Army Painter are the only comparable
direct,
like sort of that the only comparable competition.
Okay, let's go in with them.
Because
Army Painter, they are Danish, if I remember rightly.
Yes,
I think they're Danish.
yeah.
We were chatting to one of the heads of it, wasn't you?
Adam,
Yeah.
he does the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Lovely
Yeah.
guy, really
He's
nice
based in the
guy.
UK.
Yeah.
Talking to him at Adepticon.
Adam's awesome. I've had lots of conversations with Adam.
Adam, Clartuver Oxford. Yeah, him.
Medicine for that.
Tell me about it. So,
Hello.
Adam, if you're watching, tell us how to pronounce your surname in the comments.
I probably just need to see it written down and then could give it more of a
I'm
go.
not sure that helped me.
I might. It wouldn't. Yeah.
So, Army Painter, they've been around a while, haven't they? I think
Yes,
for a little
they
while
have,
they were
yeah.
just living under the radar.
Yeah.
I know. Before I used any other colours of them, I think they had like an old copper colour, and that was the only colour I had for them. It was a very dark copper, and I was using it as a base for Death Guard trim.
Right. Yeah.
And that was for the longest time. I only owned the one bottle of them, and then I've moved into using a bit more of them. I've got to be honest, I don't use a lot of them.
No.
But what comes out of a bottle, as opposed to what comes out of a can, I generally haven't had any real problems with them.
I need to Google something.
But I know they've got a bit of a legacy.
Yes.
Haven't they?
So I think they exist because of Citadel paints.
Yeah.
You know, they're very much geared towards painting miniatures. If you look at painting, you know, like as I said, you go into Warlord Games, you see Army Painter, they do starter sets with D&D miniatures in, so they're appealing to different markets as well. I think the Wargamer, like the Fanatic paints that they've released
Yeah.
recently are pretty solid. Speed Paint 2, I've been using a bit more recently, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
They have the washes, but not as many. They've got like the strong tone, medium tone, and light tone. Is that right?
See, I loved them. I thought they were better than the Citadel washers, but I'm talking nearly a decade ago now.
The recipe's changed, apparently.
The recipe did change because I remember getting a top up. Like, when people always complain about like volume of paint in bottles, but how often do you ever use up a bottle of paint? It's rare.
Yeah, it's like like black and white.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing an army of something, then I absolutely imagine you could.
And I don't even know, because it's a colour I feel like I don't use that often. I'll tell you what I ran to the ends of a bottle the other day was Seraphim Sepia.
Really?
Citadel, yeah, all the way to the end, and it was one of the big contrast bottles as well. Blooming, I don't know how I managed it.
Yeah.
I thought surely I must have knocked this over at some point, and I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah,
But, yeah.
You do but you rarely use it. But I actually managed to use up their strong tone because they've got. Is it strong? Was it strong tone?
Tone's Null Oil, medium tone's Agrax.
Agrax and
Light
soft
is
tone
light
is
Seraphim.
Sepia.
Seraphim Sepia.
So
Yeah.
you had them. So I used up the brown one, which is strong tone. No,
Agrax.
medium tone.
Yeah.
Agrax. Yeah, the Agrax one. So I used that up, went and bought another one. But what I loved about it is I did it on my Deathwing nights, or my Deathwing back in the day, and you just painted it cream, covered it in that stuff, and then you had enough time to like wick it off. But because the medium was more gel-like, as it evaporated, it didn't leave coffee staining like Citadel's prone to do. So it gave you a nice
Like graduated
blend into it. Like I was really impressed with those models that I did for my Army Painter review. I loved it, but when I picked up another bottle, they changed it. I don't know if they've changed it back now. I don't even know if they still do it, because they've moved now to Fanatic.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. So, and again, not personal.
Yeah.
Army Painter were the cheaper alternative.
Yes.
And considerably cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, what I was trying to Google then was like the price difference between their war paints and their war paints Fanatic. Because if you're getting into miniature painting and you're on a budget and you want a cheap alternative, Army Painter was it may still be, but was that cheap alternative. Yeah, the paint coverage was a bit heavier. They had marketing things like, oh yeah, you get a load of medium at the top because we do it to ensure that, you don't get any air drying or anything, which is probably, I could be wrong, probably marketing bullshit to just say, yeah, we top it off, it's dead thick and all your pigment goes to the bottom. But whatever it was shaped the hell out of it, and it worked great. I did a great review. You had the whole process of your triads, but then you had blocking your base colours, your dip wash, your highlight. They had like a full-on paint something dip and done approach that you got. And by moving to Fanatics, I think the Fanatic paints, they've now improved the quality and coverage of their paints, but I think they've upped the price.
Yeah.
Which means they're not as accessible. So it's like they had a unique selling point, which, you know, didn't win you any awards for like, oh, you're the best paint, but it put you in a position that you were a good choice for people with that. Whereas now they've entered the competition to be as average and normal as everyone else.
Yeah.
What's your unique? Where are you unique now?
So I think, I completely understand where you're coming from. Like, I think the great thing about Army Painter is they get rid of some of the quirks of Citadel. So Citadel only ever have 12 sprays. And then they get discontinued and they'll bring in another one.
Yeah.
So like I can't imagine Death Guard Green that head will be on the chopping block relatively soon, I would imagine, because they released them in like 8th.
Yeah, but I think what probably keeps Death Guard on the...
Oh, it's like a military green.
Because it's the nearest thing they do to a military.
Yeah, so Army Painter have like 2 or 3 greens in sprays.
Yeah.
They have a ton of sprays, and they're all colour matched, and that's fantastic. The paints are in dropper bottles, which is really good.
Are they colour matched anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I remember they were colour matched to the war paints.
To the war paints. Oh, so there might be a change.
There might be an upcoming change, or they might just be selling out. I don't know. Please let us know in the comments, guys. What the hell is going off over at Army Painter?
Yeah, they're in dropper bottles, and every single bottle has 2 agitators in it.
Brilliant.
Which
2's the golden number.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good thing. I think people in history have, you know, obviously very recent history, have leveled a lot of criticisms at Army Painter, and they've taken it on board and done something about it. Speed Paint 2, I think's great.
Do you know what I liked
really
about Army
like
Painter was when they got dragged a little bit for reactivation amongst and you know, but when they got dragged for that, you know what I liked about them was the fact they could have either A, ignored it, or B, doubled down on it and go, there's nothing wrong with this. But they didn't. They went, no, we've listened and we've had to think about it, and and we think you're right, there might be an issue, and this, that, and the other. Whether that's what they actually think about their own product behind closed doors is a completely different matter, but what they presented to the public was, I thought they took a really nice level headed approach to that. And I've got to be honest, I don't own a lot of it, but anything that I use that is Army Painter, I've never had any problems with. Generally, for me, I think they've been pretty decent. Don't own any of the Fanatic paints.
I don't either. One thing I will say, their tufts are chef's kiss.
A lot of the sidebar stuff that Army Painter does is very good.
Tweezers, they have a laser pointer, but they have one that's like a line of sight laser pointer, so it puts a straight line on your battlefield. So if you're playing Kill Team, and so, well, when we recorded like the very first Kill Team for Warhammer Plus, someone whose name I can't remember, but also don't want to say just in case, we're sort of like, right, can they see each other? And instead of like getting down level and we can count, just get your pointer, just go boop, and you'd be like, yep, the bases touch each other.
Brilliant.
So it just puts a straight line on your board.
Smart.
And it's genius. Yeah,
and it's really good. You know, if you try to, it's really good for making sure you win a game of Kill Team if you play against a cat.
Yeah.
The cat's like that, and then you just go, he's lost focus
for all
now.
the times you play Kill Team with your
just
cat.
start moving your miniatures. Cat doesn't even notice anymore.
There's a future video series, Kill Team with cats.
Yes.
Brilliant.
So I think the Army Painter do the ancillary stuff really, really well.
Their tools as well. I really like their not to put Citadel down. Their latest tools are terrible for the price they charge, for the quality they are.
It doesn't work there anymore, that's why.
Whatever it is, I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, the previous ones were more form than function, but at least they had form. These ones have neither form nor good function. They're just cheap. The drill hurts your hands, and is the weirdest shape. But so Army Painter, when it comes to your ancillary tools and stuff like that, much better, affordable. And they don't dress it up to be like, oh, these are the best. They're just like, here's some tools, and they work. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they're at reasonable prices.
Yeah.
2, please.
Yeah.
I think I would round up for me by saying with Army Paints, they just get on with the job, don't they?
Yes.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mic.
Yeah, I think they just get on with the job, and and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the only downside would be that if you're watching a tutorial and someone was doing Army Painter, it's kind of similar to what Duncan does with Tooth and Coats. He goes, right, I'm going to use Duncan Special Paint number 1. If you've got Citadel, it's similar to this. People always refer back to Citadel because that's what everyone understands.
Yeah.
Am I right? Is it Army Painter who actually give you a... No, it's not. It was Tooth and Coats. When you got the collection, they give you a conversion guide to, I think, Citadel and Vallejo, which is smart.
I think that's an incredibly sensible idea.
Yeah.
It makes business sense, yeah.
They're not matches, but they're like, this is the closest equivalent.
Yeah.
And I will also say about them as well, if you're a new starter and you feel a bit terrified by expensive paintbrushes, their entry-level paintbrushes are generally pretty good as well for Army Painter. They're they do a mega paintbrush set, and
Duncan Rhodes uses Army Painter brushes, doesn't he?
I think he uses a mix, doesn't he, depending on what mood he's in,
at least when
the job he's doing.
Yeah, I think when he first started, he uses a regiment brush a hell of a lot, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah,
and I think they're. Do you know? I think as a company, they seem like a nice bunch of people.
Yeah.
And they produce quite a reasonable brand when it comes to paints. I think it's pretty decent. So, who will we go with next? What do you think?
We've got two big dogs up there. We've got Vallejo, and again, please tell us in the comments how to pronounce Vallejo. The best thing about that is that people will then try and type pronunciations, which is the hardest thing to do. So, but please, if you think you can,
please do.
Yeah.
But or Vallejo or
which we should do
Arcar.
Yeah. Well, let's do Vallejo first, shall we? And then
do who?
Vallejo. So my experience with them, I've been using them quite a bit more recently with getting into airbrushing a bit more. I bought a selection of their air range. I think it was Game Air. And I think that's fantastic. I think they're really, really good. And who would have thunk it? The air paints work great through an airbrush. Oh my God. So that's wonderful. I also used a lot of their metallics, like the air metallics, but I've never put them through an airbrush.
Really? What
no.
the we'll come back to that.
So the bigger, you get your bigger pots,
the metal
color. That's it, metal color. So there are tons of ranges, but like using those as metallics because the coverage is so good. Obviously, the paint's super liquidy, so you have to be careful you don't overload your brush. I always have a piece of kitchen roll to just dab off some of the excess moisture, and then it's just like, oh, fantastic! Look, I've painted this in no time. Coverage is great, and it looks awesome. Like, I'm a big fan of stuff that's easy to use and gives you a good result. I feel like that's the holy grail of miniature painting, and I've tried a bunch of other metallics, and for me, I think they're the best metallic paints that you could put on your miniatures.
I love Vallejo. I really do. I think they are probably the range that I use most next to Citadel, and they do have, to echo Pat, they're gunmetal in that bigger pot because you use so much of it. Great. For me, and I've banged on from the very first episodes, I think, of our show up to right up to now, they're black metal. It's such a brilliant colour.
Which ones? Oh, in the pots, the model colour black metal.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
you can get an air version as well.
You can get an air, which is what I use.
Oh, in Model Air.
Model Air, yeah.
See, that's where I get confused because they've got so many ranges.
Yeah.
They've got Game Colour, Game Air, Model Colour, Model Air.
And they've got
Metal
Mecha.
Colour. Mecha. They have got. I've never touched a Mecha paint.
No,
I don't know what makes them different to other paints.
Because I know Richard Gray uses the Mecha varnish.
Right.
He always uses the Mecha varnish, but there is a reason. But yes, it's like
it is mind-boggling how many varieties.
Yeah, there's loads, and I guess this is perhaps not as a beginner the best one to go into because you don't get that help. like the army painter with the war paints, they now have the Fanatic. They go, right, here's your range of blues, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And it's like darker to brighter, boom. Citadel, you've got, right, you could use that, you could use that. And obviously, if you're more experienced with painting and you've gone, okay, well, that's red, I want a brighter one. I quite like that one, actually. Burnt orange. Then that's your Wild Rider Red equivalent.
Yeah.
So they don't hold your hand as much, do they?
No.
Yeah.
But but the range is amazing, you know, especially when I remember when I first got into it, because at the time it was, as I've talked about before, one of my local shops that I use a lot, Boys, one of the...
Oh,
they held quite a good run of game colour and their model colour.
Yeah.
And it was great, you know, because if you wanted something vibrant, if you were doing fantasy or doing Space Marines or something, you wanted something with loads of punch, that was great. But then if you were doing Imperial Guards, which I used to do, the model colour range, because it was more Second World War and more drab, was also really, really good. I just think their metals are great. And like I say, that black metal that I use, straight over whatever colour you've primed the miniature, and then it already puts a great base in for then gunmetal to go over the top of that. They're great, and I like the name of the range names. Make life a little bit easier.
Well, they make sense.
They make sense because you know I was saying I sometimes buy paints for Citadel where I don't even understand what the name of, don't know what that creature is.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be sometimes a buy it, and then they'll re-release the range and they go, and I go, oh, so that's what one of them is. I've been using that paint for 3 years. But
I did that with Grey Seer. I didn't know that a Grey Seer was a Skaven model.
Yeah.
And then I always make the same. I'm like clockwork. I always make the same joke, and I'm like, oh, they named that model after the paint.
But
it's almost like look how close this asteroid crashed to the visitor centre kind of thing.
Yes,
brilliant. That's brilliant.
Have you not seen that meme? No,
that's brilliant.
I'll show you after.
But
it's like that Grand Canyon visitor centre that we went to. Yeah.
How convenient it was that the Grand Canyon was here, so close to the visitor centre.
I love them. I think they generally their consistency is really good. They're not one of them ones where I go, I've never found myself saying about a Vallejo paint, I've never found myself going, oh, it's good but it's chalky. I've never said that.
No, the consistency is incredible.
The consistency is always good. And I tell you what as well, I bought a lot of them and then became a bit more Citadel, and they were just living in this tote bag. And then I was thinking, I'm sure I've got a colour that's... Because I tell you what the colour was. It came up mentioned on a YouTube video. Someone was talking about leather and said, British Army, brown. And you know, and I went, I'm sure I've got that. And I went into this tote bag and I had all of these paints that I realised I hadn't touched in about 5 years. And I went, oh, do you know what? Bang, in the tub with all of my other ones. Started using them. You'd have thought I bought them a couple of weeks ago. They just behave and store so well. I've a lot of, and also, which I've now just started to use, their new range of translucents, because I don't know whether they call them a wash or a contrast or whatever.
Oh,
that's fine. You used the correct term.
Express paints.
Express
is that
paints.
What it is?
Yeah,
they do.
Them.
They do a wasteland brown that I've started using over, you know, something bone color or you know, like that. I've been using as a quick leather on Crute when I don't want to go into it too much, and they're great.
I've been wanting to have a play with express paints. Like the range isn't huge, is it?
No.
But they seem to like burst onto the scene, and everyone was like, "Yeah, they're amazing." But then people still use, like, it seems like speed paint or Citadel contrast paint.
And again,
is more popular.
Do you think about Vallejo as well? They're not wallet breaking.
No, they're not. Yeah, you're right. And the fact that you can get them in hobby stores, it's an interesting one. I don't fully agree that the consistency across the range is there. Don't get me wrong, you don't get bad paints, but I wouldn't say they're any better than Citadel. Like, there are some paints that are like, oh, these are easier to use. Somewhere it's just like, oh my God, this is absolute trash in a bottle. I've had some bright greens, some warm greens, where I've just been like, the coverage on this is trash. But that is generally tends to be anything in the warmer spectrum anyway, like yellows and stuff like that tend to be bad. So I would say consistency across the range, in my experience of a lot of the colours, is, again, it goes into that average. That's
Fair to middle.
Yeah, fair to middle. It's all right. Then, like, they're not, oh my God, I must only buy Vallejo because they're the best paints. I've been wowed by, in fact, I haven't been wowed by many, but I've been more disappointed with the coverage of some random ones than I've been wowed by any. They're okay to good workman, goodman-like, and they came in because I think again back when I got into the hobby around 2014, give or take 2014-15, they were the ones that were kind of blowing up because. And it felt like everyone was like, well, I don't want to go Citadel. And they were the next biggest.
Yes.
Yeah, they were. I think at one point in time, they were definitely and I'm sure the divide was massive, but they were the ones nearest to biting at the heels because there wasn't a lot of competitors.
Yeah.
At one point, it felt like it was Citadel or them.
And then a load of ancillary brands around the Citadel.
Painter was still very small and very new at the time.
Yeah. But no, they've done well. But Vallejo's done good. I think the bit that frustrated me the most, I thought, right, if I'm going to get into these, I'm going to save up. And I got the big, the suitcase.
Yeah.
So you get a suitcase. I thought I'll go in with model colour. So for anyone who doesn't know, model colour's the more military, realistic stuff.
Yeah.
Fantasy and game is the more bright, vivid, that sort of stuff. Then you've got mecha, which I don't know the difference there. I'd imagine glossier finishes.
A lot of fluorescence and things like that in that range as well. Like I've got one fluorescent from that range.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, or at least the time when I looked, it doesn't clearly define the differences on their website. Is that the sort of stuff
that you would probably say mecha is what you would be using if you were using the Vallejo range? Was what you would use for synthwave and that sort of style.
I think they're more for gunpla. I think that's what they're aimed at. They're aimed at gunpla. But then you've got the metal colour range, which is the airbrush ones, which it's basically a load of silvers, one gold, one bronze, and that gold is like piss gold. Yeah, it's that sort of colour, isn't it? So don't bleep that. It was a good word, but it is. It is. I would describe it as pissy gold. If you look at it, you'll agree. But yeah, like that range. But when you brush on those airbrush colours, after you've got to keep them mixed, haven't you?
Yes, you really have to mix them. Oh my God,
the coverage! Like I've described these as, how paint metallic paints tend to be a bit more gloopy.
Yes.
These are thinner than paint. It's almost like painting with contrast thin metallic.
Yeah,
they're incredible.
Even for air paints, they're thin.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
I got you, because you have model colour, but then I got some game air because I couldn't find a bronze in metal colour, but I found a game air one, and that came out, and in comparison it's like using normal paint. I was just like, what on earth? Like, I thought that there's that maybe that is a potential downside, is there's just so much difference, so many quirks. So you could have game air silver, game air chrome, but they're different from the metal colour, like bigger pots.
Like game air, it's either the game air silver or chrome. One of them, the one that's completely, like, you pour it out and it's almost like mirror pure.
Chrome's great.
Chrome, that's it. Like that is that.
I use that to highlight all of my metallics.
It might be silver.
Really.
I'm thinking of game air silver, I'm sure, but for a highlight, it dry brushes.
Silver, aluminium, and chrome in game air, and they're all good.
But the actual metal colour. But the one beyond that is, I don't know if it's called liquid metal or the liquid gold range. The alcohol-based ones that not only are they the same, you've got to thin them with alcohol and clean them with alcohol, but they're again one coat coverage. But the difference is the reflection of the shine is insane. But as soon as it's dry, you've got to get a clear coat over it, or it'll actually oxidise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it's so shiny. It's incredibly shiny. I love it. It's like painting with metal. And if you put it this way, if you airbrush it onto a matte surface, it will look matte. If you airbrush it onto a gloss surface, it will reflect back to you like chrome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's
my last thing I'll say for me on Vallejo is the fact they are, and people will go, oh no, they're not the only ones, but they are probably one of the best for doing sets with colours in and then giving you an instruction leaflet about how to do it. Because I bought from them a series of, it was just colours out their normal range, but they put them together and then they put a really cool leaflet in there. It was like, here's how to do weathered rusty tanks using what's in this box.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
And they do a lot of that. They do NMM ones of that.
Yeah.
They do ones for faces.
Oh,
and they do ones for like human faces in a number of ranges of skin types.
Yeah.
And then they do, here's like undead and goblins.
Yeah.
So you push through the grey into the greens and you get more. And they do a lot of that. And there is some of them knocking around. At Scale 75 do some, but of that
AK do a lot as well.
Yeah, but I think the little manual that comes with it is really well written.
Yeah,
so that will always I've had 2 of them box sets from Vallejo, and yeah, they're good guys for that.
See, I thought I was good getting, the big model. I got model colour, that was it, because that was meant to be their biggest range. So I thought, well, if I'm going to go in, I'm going to get the model colour range, the whole model colour range in that suitcase. It's not the whole model colour range. It's not even nearly the whole model colour range in that suitcase. So when I was watching a guide on Space Wolves that used like a deep sea green, it's a really good Space Wolves colour that's just got a little bit more green in it than blue. Fantastic scheme, and I went to go and get it out of my case. I was like, I haven't got that, or the shade, or the highlight for it. No. Those are different colours. I'm like, well, that was 200 odd quid well spent. I'm now going to go and buy 6 more Vallejo paints.
Yeah, like I've did something similar with the air range. I bought like a small suitcase of it because I was like, I want to try these out, see what they're like, and I'm glad I did because they're fantastic. And you've got some of each colour, and they have a ton of different coloured primers as well. The airbrush primers, the black I think is great. AK airbrush primer is too matte, and you can just flake it off with your fingers. Whereas the Vallejo one's like a bit more solid. I like
Same as Steinol Res. Like everyone recommends Steinol Res, and when I've got a good one, it's gone on well. The problem is, I think if Steinol Res gets frozen or below or towards 0 and then heats back up, it completely breaks down and ends up clogging up my airbrush like nothing else. But it is when I got one bottle of a good one and used it quick. It was amazing. The best primer I've ever used.
Interesting.
Just too risky.
Just really temperamental. Yeah. I realised we talked a lot about the metallics in Vallejo. We haven't with Army Painter or Citadel. I think they're fine. Army Painter or Citadel. I think they're
Retributor armor. If I had to throw a metal out there for Citadel,
they do, because I think
like I say that old copper or old bronze for Army Painter.
And I think Vallejo do great metallic colours in a variety of ranges, which is something that when we get to AK is what I will twist the knife a little bit.
So then,
the Army Painter's got contrast.
They have the speed paint metallics.
I can't even get. I've not used them, and I can't even get my head around understanding what they are.
They're not like.
I'm not a fan.
That.
They're like I would say they're like thinner versions of Vallejo metal color.
Yeah, so you get your coverage in there. You do get a variation of color, but it's quite subtle, I think. So you still might want to stick a wash in the recesses. You still might want to highlight it over the top. In which case, why would you use the speed paint metallics? I think if you want a one coat solution and you're doing it as quickly as possible, you'll get more variation than you would with a traditional metallic paint, which would just be everything's the same color. So you do get that. I think as a one coat solution, which I think is what it's kind of designed for, smash in. But if you are going to add stuff to it to put more contrast in, then you might as well use something else. But the ease of use for getting it on is a plus.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's easier to paint with a speed paint metallic than, thinning down your traditional gunmetal and doing it with 2 coats. It's a good speed paint, as the name suggests.
What one are you taking with you from
out of Vallejo?
Yeah.
What one Vallejo colour?
We didn't do Army Painter either.
God.
What am I taking with me out of Army Painter? Original strong tone. Out of Army Painter, original recipe strong tone.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
I hate to feel like I'm riding your coattails, but I think I might have to go with you on that.
That's all right.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with Army Painter. I could probably only go with what I've used fairly recently, and I thought their dew green, like DEW green, I thought that was really nice. Speed paint, so I'll take that.
Cool. Okay. What are you taking out of Vallejo?
I would have said, out of Vallejo, they're not. Oh, the good thing about Vallejo is you can learn Spanish while you paint.
Yeah.
Because everything's written on it in English and Spanish. But no, I was going to say the Vallejo, the 70.950 black, because that is the one you have to base your rims in, but we'll come back to why that's changed for me recently. Out of the entire Vallejo range, I'm taking airbrush thinner.
Oh, yeah. Of course,
rebel.
yeah, they do. I mean, I think because I use their airbrush thinner, and it's great.
It's just the one that works with pretty much everything, isn't it?
Oh, that's a really good shout. What are you taking, Joe?
I'm going to go where I'm going to party like it's 2022, and we never mentioned it in the Vallejo range, and I stayed away from it on purpose because it became a meme, and it is great. It's pale sand.
Pale sand is very good.
I don't know this meme. I shall have to
well, it was
Dana Howell.
Dana Howell was she championed, and rightly so, she championed pale sand.
Yeah.
It did get a bit wearing where Dana's head would pop up in every third video of her going, did someone say pale sand? But to be fair, it's a really great highlight, and it highlights on so many different colours.
Yeah.
And doesn't look out of place. You know, if you do like a spot highlight or whatever, you can spot highlight greens with it and blooming reds with it, you name it. For some reason, it's just so neutral. It just manages to work as a spot highlight.
Is
it kind of like an ice yellow?
It's
not a million miles away from ice yellow.
It's a warmer ice yellow.
So it's a warm white.
Yeah. It doesn't bend as far into being bone. But it's,
Okay.
So I'm sorry to be a cliche, but pale sand's
pale sand is amazing.
Really good all rounder.
I think for me, I wouldn't take pale sand because you can get pale sand in other ranges.
Yes.
For me, the most unique thing that I benefit from is the metal color.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't take chrome.
No,
because you can, for doing highlights, using traditional metallic paints is fine. So I would either do gunmetal or exhaust manifold.
Exhaust manifold's a really good paint.
Yeah.
The gunmetal's a little bit of a purpley one, isn't it? And the exhaust manifold's the slightly browny one.
So those dreadnoughts that I painted, they're exhaust manifold. And then washed with Nuln Oil and highlighted up.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'd take exhaust manifold. It's like a nice dark-ish.
And hats off to Vallejo for doing pots of paint in that size.
Big pots of them,
useful.
And they're so cheap for that size as well.
I think they're about £7. I think from in Element Games, so it's obviously a little bit cheaper. £7.20 or something like that. They might have gone up.
Cool.
And I think it's worth noting, and another shout out to Marco. You can mix them. The lighter ones, like he uses duraluminium, and he mixes in contrast paint or ink.
Yeah.
Might not be contrast paint, but it mixes in translucence with a little bit of Vallejo glaze medium. It might be glaze medium or gloss medium, and then you can make your own coloured. So you know how I was saying earlier,
like contrast
coloured contrast metallics, which come across as better than. No offense, Army Painter, I love you guys, but better as than the Army Painter ones. And the coverage is just insane. And colours, whatever colour you want. Because I was saying earlier, the gold and bronze in theirs is in that range is weak, but you can have anything from, shiny green to shiny black. You can have shiny black. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Should we do Vallejo's kind of cousin? That nobody really talks about. They were identical twins, but they were raised separately.
They very much were raised separately.
It's AK. So
look, good old, lovely, brilliant, but problematic AK.
Yes. So obviously we have the questionable marketing strategies that they've done in the past. You can make up your mind with if they were bad enough that you wouldn't use the paints.
Because we've used a lot of AK in the past, which started when you bought the big suitcase.
Come here, she's off screen, so
she is off screen.
Yeah,
Dog's
we just
off
look
screen.
insane. Hi Bella, this is Bella. She's here.
Yeah,
but go on. You've used them in the past.
Well, and we really got into them, but from very early on when we started to become, and we worked with them for a while as a deal. We every sort of like 1 in 20, someone would say I wouldn't trust them I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. People have got quite strong points on how they see it. I think some of what they wanted to convey in this book that they released about the horrors of the world, I think some of what they wanted to convey, I thought, was coming from a good place. Really badly marketed.
Oh God, yeah.
Really badly marketed.
Yeah,
Some of
I
what
think,
they were
yeah.
trying to say, as I've always said, as being an ex-soldier, it's always very easy to go, when it comes to model soldier dioramas, is go, the horrors of war, and it's dead soldiers. And what generally don't get in dioramas is the horrors of war, dead civilians. And, the amount of civilians lost in wars compared to the amount of soldiers lost is ridiculous. And I think their book was well-meaning and badly done. So I sort of understands everyone's rage for AK, and if they really offend you, I get it, but I don't think they meant it. I think they were trying to do something good and just dealt with it.
Yeah, I think mistakes can happen. I think that was. I think it's something probably lost in translation and culture, isn't it? But I'm not here to defend. I'm not here to talk about whether or not I like the paints. And I like the paints.
Yeah,
I really like the paints, and it's hard, but I don't want to get caught up in hobby politics.
No.
And
the problem is
I'm
they
not
go too hand in hand, which is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and they keep doing like this. They just keep doing it, and it's like, I really want to like you, AK. I want to give you money. Your products are great, but you keep doing stuff that just isn't okay. But to the paints,
third gen acrylics.
Oh my God, they're amazing.
They're really
I love them.
I would quite confidently, happily sort of say that I think they're probably the best acrylic paints on the market.
As a range, when it comes to consistency and what they can do, yeah, I agree. I remember someone telling me when the red came out and went, check this, someone else has checked it, and they got a preview copy, and like, is that not like just the most intense red ever, and it's brilliant. And I checked it, I was like, yeah, it's red. Like, because that's how much I like paint. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't like going down to scientific detail, but I picked up a series. It was last year at Gen Con, and I got them just before I went to Gen Con, and I was doing some dry brushing demos, and I took that with me. That that I'm pointing at, the little case with the things, and I took that with me, and I was like, I love these paints. Like, they dry brush really well, they cover really well, you can thin them down really well. The finish is nice.
So they're all very matte, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're all very consistent. Like, they're not all of them are perfect, but it seems like they're in an upper echelon, just slightly above what I was saying earlier about Citadel, Vallejo, Army Painter being average.
Yeah.
These are. And it's a hair's difference,
and they're cheap.
These feel just above average,
cheap and really sensibly named.
Well, so this is potentially might be Vallejo can't. Vallejo, they say all three. Various variations of it. Can't copyright Off-White.
Yeah.
And this, that, and the other, like all that kind of stuff.
Brick red,
wine
red.
Yeah, that's it. So they're very, very similar to Vallejo. And as we've discussed before, some of the Vallejo paints, the restock, at least here in the UK,
it's been a bit iffy.
And then you go, oh, well, I wanted, grey-green, but there's AK grey-green, so maybe I'll just pick that one up and try it. Like, so I think the third gen acrylics are fantastic. I think what you were saying, Ross, about the consistency of them is 100% correct. I think if you figure out, there's less figuring out of how to use individual paints. Once you learn the range, once you learn one paint, then you can kind of generally do it over the
and they are learning
range.
They are starting to make colours that lean into the fantasy side, because I think AK very early on, I think, were very much diorama, military diorama.
Oh, massively,
And they and as their ancillary range, which is mind-bogglingly good, of different types of earth in a bottle. In a tub, but it's ridiculous. Plastic tubing. And I think I'm not sure, but I think it might even be AK who make 28mm boot prints on sticks.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
So if you're doing diorama of like an American soldier, say on a muddy field, because he hasn't been teleported there. He's obviously had to walk to that point. And I think it might be AK. I might be wrong, but I think it's AK that do. Not just do they do boot prints, but it's like US Army boot print, like Japanese boot print, British Army, and like I mean they do like. Yeah.
Can I just ask somebody out there? There's got to be somebody out there who can do 3D modeling because Games Workshop will never do this. Give us that with Space Marine boots.
Space Marine feet, please.
Just do Space Marine feet as a STL. I can think.
And then you could do Tau ones, which are the little hooves.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. That'd be amazing. And then
that'd just win you the golden demon on its own, wouldn't it?
it's peak internet because you're making loads of money off of feet pics.
But yeah.
Can you do mini Lily Allens?
But like, how many times though have you had a Space Marine with his toes there and the back of his foot up, and then under where the mud he's been stood in is just flat? Like, don't you just want something you can push into that to like give it the boot print?
Yes,
you do.
A genius idea.
Yeah. So But speaking of things, speaking of naming, good naming. It reminded me, Army Painter we didn't talk about. They've actually got
two names.
So I originally thought every colour had its Army Painter name, like Rainforest, Electric Lime, Vivid Volt, all that.
Yeah.
But I actually thought, so there is, and I learned this a while ago, in art, there is a standard for colours.
Okay.
So they've all got names.
Yeah.
They've all got like standard names. And I thought Army Painter were including those names on all their paints. So I don't think they are. Well, I don't know. So
on the Speed Paint 2, they are, yeah.
So it could be that. So what I've got here, so I was looking at the green, that's the example. So here you've got Emerald Forest, Leafy Green, Rainforest, Electric Lime, Vivid Volt, and I think it's Afterglow. I can't read it because the bottle's there. And on the side of every bottle...
At least two of them, they sound like something I would drink.
I'd probably drink all of them.
Electric Lime?
After those two drinks, I'd probably drink the rest.
Electric Lime sounds great to me.
Yeah.
But on all of those, it says Vibrant Green at the bottom, and then it tells you which of the hues. So I don't know that it is the standard. There's a name for it, again. If anyone in the comments knows, if anyone watching knows.
It's like Burnt Sienna goes across so many ranges.
Because I think that is exceptional for anybody that's colorblind.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you're like whatever variation of colorblindness you are, if you go, what is like, and again, Army Painter, it's like Citadel without the quirks.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably the almost the better way to describe them now, because everything they do is helpful.
Yeah, they're actually adding, like, it's a tiny little thing that adds value to the buyer. So things like calling all of these, like, here's 6 greens. Now, to be fair, a lot of Army Painters paints, because they've got a lot, I think it's 260 odd colours.
And the range size, it's insane.
It is. Like, but I genuinely feel like by looking at these and just generally guessing with my eyes, a lot of these are like a middle paint with either more white or more black added.
I've heard that.
Yeah. Like, so
you could mimic them.
You could mimic them.
You could get like the bottom one and the top one and just mix them yourself.
Yeah, almost. Or you could get the middle one and mix them yourself by adding more white. But I fucking hate mixing paints.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like, on one hand, it's kind of like, oh, why have you done that? You could just add more black, more white.
You'd be like, fine, do it.
Yeah, go ahead, do it. Save yourself some money.
Yeah.
But you know, if you don't want to and you just want to go 5 colours that are always the same colour, thank you for mixing for me. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'd take the dent in my wallet over my sanity.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. People pay for convenience. If they didn't, then wet palettes wouldn't exist as a product.
Yeah. Cool. So
very
enough on wet palettes.
So we've been there.
We're not going there again. I like wet palettes. They're great.
AK.
I love wet palettes. AK. So they obviously have Streaking Grime.
Yeah.
They have their enamel range.
Pencils.
They've got the weathering pencils. So
weathering powders.
All
water
that sort of
effects.
Stuff.
Different variants of mud and cracked air.
So they're texture paints, as we'll call them, because that's kind of like what Citadel are.
Really good, and
big bottles.
So ridiculously cheap compared to buying it from Games Workshop.
Yeah, insanely.
Cheap.
We have a part of Lunar Desert.
Yeah.
And I think that's easily the most used one. And that's kind of what's the Citadel version of that. It's like it looks like the moon essentially.
Yeah.
Acryl and Earth.
Yeah.
No,
Is
I
it
think
a
No,
mud
but it's the
one?
same type of thing
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well on Earth.
and
Yeah.
and it's like you get so much more, and it's
Oh, it's in a tub, isn't
not
it?
that
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
more expensive. So they're kind of like that big, and it's still going strong after like 2 years of abuse.
And the amount
it's
of different colours
good.
they do in them. They do them where you can have the ground literally like blood red if you're doing like demons, you name it. It's a really, really good range.
It's interesting, like, you know, because I bought the suitcase with my own money, and I don't regret it at all.
No, you got your money's worth out of that case, haven't you?
And
But
like,
even that isn't the full range, I don't think.
well, it was, but they've
they
now
added more.
released. They've now released like I think half a dozen paints that are like Color Punch or something. They're like, oh, we thought these were missing from the range. They do like a brain matter one now as well. It's great.
Do you remember? Do you remember Vegas when Byron went to tell them off for having too many colours?
Yes. yeah. He's like, why do you need 6 reds that are all the same?
Good old Byron. Yeah.
He knows his paint though. doesn't he?
Because interestingly, I mean, wine red.
Yeah, they do like a brain matter, don't they?
Colour,
which is madness.
You've got brick red and dirty red that are different, but they're quite similar. They'd both be Mephiston red if it was Citadel.
Yeah.
They do red wine and rosé wine.
Yeah, and then white wine as well.
It's Californian and Australian.
That's it. Yeah, They'll do Rioja white. They'll do Rioja red. Merlot red.
Yeah, Lidl's.
Basmati, Pilar.
Speaking of good
We
reds,
did this once before, didn't we?
Yeah.
That we should have ranges of paints that are named after food, so everyone would automatically know what they
See,
were.
I still think I wish brands would do this. There is a standard for colour naming. Stop giving us White Scar versus White Star. We can tell what you're doing, guys.
Yeah.
Just call them both Titanium White, which is the right name. Everyone should have that so that we can then... Marco does it. He names all his colour. Like, he refers to the contrast green. He refers to one of the contrast green as green gold because... It is
a colour.
It is a colour. That's its actual name. And if we did that, we could start applying more fine art techniques to our miniatures and actually use, I don't know, the thousands of years we've been learning art's worth of learning here.
So to keep ourselves
anyway.
to keep ourselves punchy, what are you taking from AK?
Black. It's the best black on the market, hands down.
Oh, okay. What are you taking?
Same. So this, you remember earlier I was talking about Vallejo black, Vallejo, whatever. You remember I was talking about their black, and that used to be my favourite. I text the group once, and you were like, "No, use this." And I tried the AK black, and I'm like, "Jesus Christ, I'm never touching another black
I think their
again.
white is the best on the market as well. To be fair, I think the
better
black
than bold titanium.
Yes. Yes, I would say that their white I prefer using to Pro Acryl Bold Titanium White because it's just I find it.
Mate, bring it in.
Oh yeah. Oh. I think it just goes on a bit smoother. It's a bit creamier. I find with the Pro Acryl stuff, and sometimes it just has a bit of a texture to it. And I don't know if that's because I haven't shook it enough or I've thinned it down too much or whatever. But the black and the white from AK, I think they've done the great thing where they've nailed those two. Because they're the kind of staples that people check on, aren't they? Like we all go Citadel, or the whites are shocking, but they've nailed it, and then everything else just kind of follows suit.
Yeah.
Mine is black, rubber.
Black, rubber black is great.
Is that a different black?
Yeah. It just goes on, so it does look more like the colour of a warm,
It's slightly
warm
brown,
tire.
isn't it?
And I
Yeah.
tell you where I love it. Space Marines.
Oh, on the
Rubbery bits.
that makes sense.
Yeah. But what we didn't say, which was something you are going to talk about, so I was trying to put AK to bed then, but AK metals.
Oh yeah, the metallic paints are just bang average. They have some coloured metallics, which like there's like a red metallic, like a purple one. They seem like you're like, why on earth would you have this? There must have been something in World War II that had was coloured metallics, but I think they're fine.
Yeah, because maybe as you say, there isn't a great deal of requirement to be painting gold if you're doing Second World War.
They don't have the range of colours. I don't think they go dark enough Like dark aluminium which is like an insanely bright aluminium.
Yeah.
I really like edge highlighting with that. Like their silvers and stuff, I think fine for edge highlighting. Coverage is, similar to your Citadel paints. You might have to do 2 coats or whatever, but Citadel, you got Iron Warriors, you got that really dark sort of metallic. Vallejo obviously have all of their, all the way down to black.
Yeah.
Army Painter have that range as well. AK just seem to have neglected their metallics a bit. They kind of go, right, well, here's like a gun one. Why would you have a dark one? That's not realistic.
With all the extras they've given you everywhere else, it's kind of like
Like, I'm not mad about it, but I always reach for something else first.
I think maybe in their approach they kind of think like metal is a multifaceted process, whereas it's not just acrylic lighter, because they are built around the diorama painter,
yes,
more than I think than anything, and that's where you get some really cool stuff. But I think for your metallics, in their mind, maybe it's paint it with a base color, but then use, because they've got like wax-based metallics as well.
Yes.
So then use these different materials so they don't cross-contaminate and give you different textures. And I don't know, maybe
I feel like AK, like not accidentally, like because I feel like they made some of the best miniature paints in the world, and then for dioramas and war gamers, like historical war gamers, and they were loads of loads of Warhammer people want to paint with them now.
Let's do more.
And I'm like, we need some darker metallics, but that probably would have never entered because it doesn't exist or whatever.
The one thing I do want to neg on them for a bit is, so when I first bought my suitcase, I thought that the little suitcase, because they do 2.
Yeah.
They do a 1-tier suitcase, and then they do a second suitcase where you unlatch the bottom and there's a whole other level.
And it's got like 600 paints in.
So I bought the first one, but then nowhere on their website does it clearly explain the first set comes with this out of the whole range, the second set comes with this out of the whole range, and if you buy the first one, here's all the extra bits you need to get the second one. Because I would have just bought all the extras, but because I had some unused element crystals, I ended up buying the whole bloody box again. So I've now got the big suitcase and the little suitcase of paints that I'll never use, but because it doesn't clearly tell you what's not in one. So if you're thinking of getting into it, test a couple of the paints, then just buy the big bloody suitcase. I don't like some of the things that were missing in that little suitcase. An ochre, there was no ochre. Who doesn't put an ochre in it?
See, saying that, I rarely use ochre, to be fair.
You paint a lot of in fists and stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah.
I like ochre. It's a great base for yellow.
Yeah.
Right then.
All right,
can I pick?
Yeah, please do.
I'll bracket this by saying they are lovely people. Pro Acryl.
Oh yeah, I love them.
Oh, Pro Acryl range. I think other than I'll say straight away, other than the bold titanium white, which I bought when I'd heard people talking about it on their YouTube about how good it was. I went and bought a bottle of that. Then I convinced Pat to buy a bottle of that, and quite happily sat with that and had that for months. And then we did some work with Mr. Byron from Element Games / Artis Opus, and he gave us all a big box of them each. And then he gave us 2 boxes, because he gave us a load of colours, and then he gave us a box of their metallics.
Oh, there,
And then and now, having come into contact with the lovely people at Monument, they've given us more paints further down the line. I think at Vegas I was given paints, and then I was given paints again at Adepticon. So I've got to say, other than 1 pot of paint, I haven't put my hand in my pocket with Pro Acryl. So it sounds a little bit disingenuous to go they're great because I've been given them. But God, they're really good.
I love them. I can go the other way. I got some free, not all of them. In fact, I might have bought. I don't remember. I got some free originally, I think, to write a review. I love them so much that since then, because they've been like US based, and then they come over to the UK. what I've ended up doing is buying every single time. I don't want to wait for them to come to the UK. As soon as they're available, I have ordered every single colour. It is the only range where I've been like, whenever you release a new paint, I want it. Saying that, I didn't realise till last week they'd released fluorescence. Didn't know that was a thing.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I didn't know.
I didn't know
missed
that.
it.
Yeah, I've got some of them.
Oh, brilliant. I'm glad.
I think I bought some at Adepticon.
Yeah.
Not Adepticon because I wasn't there. The Las Vegas one.
Yeah. But I love them. They are for coverage. Like, I have a very straight approach to painting, which is airbrush, dry brush, oil wash, done. Now, when it comes to dry brushing, I don't think they're the best because they are quite matte. They leave a texture. So if you're wanting a smooth dry brush, they're not the best for that. But if you just want block out coverage, fantastic. They thin down great, but I like a matte texture.
They thin down, and it just feels like there's no loss in how colour packed they are.
Yeah.
The opacity of them when you thin them down, they just hold on for dear life.
See, I thought they were when I first got them. I
like
thought
Sylvester Stallone in Cliffhanger.
I think they are. They are the paints. Yeah, they are the paints that Citadel's base acrylics. You know, the ones they call base.
Yeah.
They're the paints that Citadel's base acrylics
Should
wish
be.
they were.
Yeah,
like they're
that's
that
very
good. Like
yeah.
they're other than Mephiston Red in that in the Citadel range. Like the other base colours are okay. Like Mephiston Red's a top 5 for me in that thing.
Yeah.
Like Bold Pyrrole Red isn't quite there in terms of coverage, but the rest of them are like yellow. You can go from black to yellow in 3 coats thin.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
They are it's just a great range. At first, when I got that white, I hated that bottle lid. I'm now just really used to it.
Yeah, the lids are a bit naff.
And you know, and even now though, sometimes when I've painted something and then I've gone, I could have just done with a little touch of a dot, like a button on a Space Marine's wrist to go, and then I just open the bottle, twist it, and a little blob comes up and I go, bang, that'll do.
That's
bang,
exactly
and
what
that's
you need.
it.
Yeah.
It's
I don't like them for it. Like, you don't airbrush. Where
No,
I
I don't.
like them is airbrushing, because like I don't mix in a thing and then pour into my cup. I just mix straight in the colour cup on the top of an airbrush.
Yeah.
And you do that, and you crack it after you've used it, and you drop a little bit, and then you watch as this little flake of crud that was
goes
attached
into
to the top goes into your thing, and it's like, well, that's going to clog. Brilliant. So I do love it. I like that they do sell alternative lids.
They do apparently. So.
like dropper lids.
Yeah.
I never liked the idea of paying for the same thing twice, though.
No, same.
I like, and they're going back all the way to Citadel paints. Are you talking about inconsistencies or quirks? I want the thing to work out the pot straight away. I've learnt with them. I use them. I close it, and when I close it, I wipe it, and then I'll give it another quick rub before I open it again and use it for the next time. So that is their main quirk for me, is the closing system.
Yeah.
But I just think it used to be, it's not now, but it used to be my favourite white. I still think it's
not your favourite
No,
anymore.
still think it's extraordinarily strong white.
Oh, what is your favourite white?
My favourite white is
Corax white.
Taylor Rowney FW.
Really?
Oh.
Okay, we'll come on to that.
We'll have to come on to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
I love it. Like, as I say, I do a lot of dry brushing, and the magic of the dry brush step is in that final step where you go back to traditional dry brushing. So the process we go through is basically blend your colours through, go all the way up to bright, and then if it's grey, I'll use white, otherwise I'll put a little bit of bold titanium white in it. And even though bold titanium white isn't the best for dry brushing, because of the matte texture, it picks up the edges better as well. So getting a little bit of that, like, obviously working with Byron and working with Artist Opus, we go to different conventions to sell dry brushes. I've probably sold more bold titanium white by telling people about it. We did, didn't we?
We with them two quite unusual. Well, they're quite two intense brothers.
Oh yes,
at Adepticon, and they were going, you need to, and I think I was going, going, you need to put a, because they instead of just going, can we buy brushes? Suddenly they believed that we were all painting experts, which was very wrong.
The Setzer brothers, if you're out there, so we remember
you're lovely, but you're quite intense, and they
we love you.
They were like, I said, if you do this and if you want to do this, these are great brushes for that. And they went, and how do we do that? And I was like, well, you put over a good white. And then I went, down there with the brick wall background. Go and see them and say a one bold titanium white, they are your people. And so I still believe in it massively.
Yeah.
I still believe in it, and I think it's a great range. I love that they've started working with different content creators. I'm gonna
the signature series stuff.
Yeah, I've picked up a miniature that I'm gonna start trying to figure out gold NMM, and that's gonna be my Terminator Chaplain. I'm gonna try and do gold NMM for that, and I'm gonna use the range that I was kindly given, which was the box from Flame On.
Oh, yes.
And then we got a really lovely thing with that gentleman whose name I embarrassingly still don't know. But then he then gave away a free, because he's normally a Patreon. He normally does his tutorials through Patreon.
Oh, right, okay.
So they're paid tutorials. He did a free one to match the paints for teaching you how to do
lovely.
NMM. So I'm
Okay.
going to try and get onto that.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice range of, I wrote a load of different browns and going up to virtually like yellows.
Yeah.
But other than the lids, I struggle to find them. I think they're reasonably priced.
Yeah, you get a lot in a pot as well.
You get a lot in a pot. The ranges and the range of colours isn't to the point of it being overwhelming like AK and Vallejo. It's quite a sensible sized range.
And I think that's a detriment, actually. Like over bloated ranges, you're like, where do I go? But I suppose
you just don't want to turn off for Byron.
I think there's two things, isn't there? There's like, you end up like, I'm a collector. Like, to me, the hobby is just amassing the most amount of crap. So I've got unbuilt models, I've got unused paints, I've got unused airbrushes, because I just want to amass the most hobby crap. That's I like to collect.
How far can I go till I am made to get divorced?
Yeah, pretty much. Is that not the end for all of us?
Yeah,
anyway?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm
not married yet.
Divorced or death, whichever comes sooner.
That's it. So I'm such a high-level war gamer. I've been divorced twice. So I've
how many paints do you own? Well, I've been divorced twice. That many.
Divorced twice is the war gamer equivalent of respecking and starting again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like having so many paints in a range. Like, I suppose most people out there are very much, I have a project or I have an army. You'll buy your paints for that army. That will be the majority of people. If you're a Blood Angels player, you'll have red, black, lighter red, and maybe an orange and a white or something. Some greens and some purples. But like, for people who really get invested in paints, it's like, right, I want to go here. There's AK. They've got 322 paints in their range. Maybe, I don't know, I'm making that up.
Yeah.
I'll get all of them. And that isn't just my mindset. Nobody wants to be in a position of, I'm going to paint something different and I don't have the paint that I need.
It's not worse, is it?
Yeah, you're like, I've got this far, and then like you've got to take yourself out of project mode.
How many times, and I know I've done it more times than I care to mention, have you gone to use a paint, realise you don't own it, and literally just stopped, got in the car, gone and got it?
Yeah, a couple.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought, I can't, my brain won't allow me to go, well, that's a similar colour.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
And that goes all the way back to me talking about the language of Citadel and following YouTube guides and going, if I haven't got it, I now have to stop this and drive to insert name of shop.
I nearly did it the other day when I ran out. I realised I had no Rakarth flesh for the one I did for the Villainy Inks video, and I wanted all the tentacles that look like massive knobs. For anyone, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
You don't mean Oxamanders.
No. I don't mean orcs. They just look like sore penises coming out his back. But I wanted to spray that Rakarth flesh.
Yeah.
And then do it. And I didn't have Rakarth flesh. I used deck tan in the end, but I was so close to getting in the car and going to Elements.
So, I guess shout out to Pete the Wargamer. His Colourforge spray dead animal bits is
Rakarth flesh.
Flesh.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So you got that, because they don't make a spray of it, do they?
No, they don't, and it's one of the like deck tan. Do you know what? It's weird.
I know what you mean with deck tan.
There isn't. I don't know a good Rakarth flash alternative in any range, and deck tan's probably the closest, but it's just not.
Just like a bit lifeless.
Yeah,
it needs because I used some paints that I had to hand painting a face recently. And it just looked a bit dead. Like, I didn't use flesh colours. I used like sandy sort of colours.
Yeah.
And it looked like a corpse. Like something that is just a bit lifeless.
I don't know what's in it. Is it more purple in it?
Yeah,
or something?
maybe
It's like
something
a
like
lilac, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then using the proper flesh colours, similar shades, but they were just there. So I, by design, haven't really said my opinions on Procurel.
Oh, please do.
I don't use them all that much, and I think like I love ease of use. I also like having my handheld. Just in day-to-day life, but also when I'm painting. So I think what Procreal do exceptionally well is their range isn't bloated. They do, you know, 1 or 2 pigments, so everything covers incredibly well.
Yeah, really does.
I think as the range expands, I will probably like it more because I think it's great for mixing. I don't want to mix any paints, ideally, like Army Painter, Citadel, AK, that appeals to me because I can be like, oh, I really need that color. Oh, why would I mix it? Because I know what I'm like. If I mix something, I'm like, oh, what ratios did I use with that?
Yeah.
Oh, bugger. And then trying to recreate it is just a bit of a pain. When you straight out the bottle, they are like super, I don't know if gloopy is the right word, but
quite thick.
They're really, really thick.
Yeah.
So you have to thin. And I think maybe one of my reasons why I don't really use them that much is because I haven't put the time in to learn them. Whereas I feel like the entry level for, say, like AK is super quick and they behave really, really well. And I just kind of connected with them very quickly. Whereas Pro Acryl, I struggle with a bit more. And the niche that they supply super, super well doesn't necessarily appeal to me all that much.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, and that's fair. Like, this is the thing. Everyone, and I think, you know, I've written articles called The Best Paint for Miniatures. There is no best paint. Yeah. There is only what's best for you, and you're allowed to be wrong as you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to subscribing to the school of, if you don't like something, it's not made for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So Procreal, I think, like, and you know, I everything I said was related back personally to me. I'm not going to
exactly.
diss the paints.
Yeah, he's wrong. Yeah. So we're going to Gen Con soon. Actually, they'll be there. So I'll make sure they see this.
Make sure you go see
just
this.
beat him up. Look at this. Did you really this guy? This guy who's like. But no, you're completely right. And I think anybody out there who's watching as well, it's like, you know,
I wouldn't recommend them to beginners.
Really? See, I would.
You reckon?
I would go the other way.
I think you know, like Citadel, Army Painter.
I think as a beginner who you have taught
have a system
to thinner paint. As long as you taught them to thinner paint, I would recommend them.
Yeah, I think the system and the framework that are in place with, say, Citadel and Army Painter is more suited to beginners.
Because the fact that they...
like I say, I love having my handheld.
The thing I will say about them, though, that they do really well is because they're just a great, one is just a great highlight for the other, is the jade and the turquoise. Yeah. They're so close, but so far away to act as a really good highlight for
those
itself.
Those are great colours, to be fair.
And for that to be that bright and cover that well.
Yeah.
I have a lot of time for Pro Acryl. They've, through generosity, but they have sneaked into my painting run.
I fell in love with them. Like I like to paint. Like, I will airbrush it to get the blends on. Then I'll block in colours. And for blocking in colours, I've never found anything more consistent. Like, every time I get one of their paints, I can thin it down. Like, even if it's thick, it's very obvious that it's thick. And then when it gets into thin enough, there's a wide range of thin enough that you can go to before you get to too thin. Honestly, I think for beginners who are just looking to block in colours, these are, I would say these, if you're looking to block in colours, if you're looking for the Citadel system of layer, highlight and blah, blah, they maybe do take a bit more learning because the matte does grab. The matte texture grabs the next colour. I don't find them as easy to blend. You can blend with them. I don't find it easy with them. But if you're just looking to block in colour, then Pro Acryl, 2 thin coats, Reaper, amongst my 3 favourites, with Pro Acryl being the top.
Fair.
Yeah, I like them. I think they are just a good, strong paint. I mean, just the colours are just so solid.
I'm inspired to try them a bit more. Maybe there'll be a video down the line of being like, I finally learned how to use Acryl.
I figured out how to
5
twist the
years
top.
later.
one thing they've done is they've been quite Twitch heavy as well. So like we've talked about brands who've got a lot of tutorials, and a lot of people are jumping into AK. A lot of people have used Citadel. A lot of people have used Vallejo, and it's, I think, getting known, which I'll come on to on another brand. Getting known is a massive thing.
Yeah.
And they have done it. So Jason, who runs the company, like created these because he wanted paints for him.
A paint created by a painter who spotted a gap.
Basically,
Not in the gap in the market, but a gap in the quality that he needed for what he wanted to do. And I think that's a hats off moment.
Yeah. And then he has he's gone on, so he did a lot of Twitch videos.
Yeah.
And then now he's got Jordan, who joined the guys. It was Element.
Yeah, I met Jordan.
UK Games Expo.
Yeah.
So Jordan joined.
Nice guy, Jordan.
Oh, he's lovely. They all are. This is the thing. They are. If you want to be certain you're buying paint from wonderful, like, this is a family-run business. It's Jason and his wife, and then a couple of the other guys who I won't name because it's not. I don't know that we should. But yeah, there's like a brother and sister work there, and their mum works there.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's something to be said for that. And they're nice. And I don't know, the viewer isn't getting this, but they are lovely, generous people to be in the company of. They really are. Yeah. So and I know that's a bit biased because it's from the convention circuit, but they are.
Yeah. But like we said, there's no best paint, there's no best brand, there's only what's best for you. No one out there is wrong except for Pat.
Yeah, well, which is always the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're used to that now.
Yeah.
Right then, we're not going to get through this.
We're not.
What colour are you taking with you?
What colour are you taking with you?
It's got to be bold titanium white, just because, like, if you buy bold titanium white, you will then buy more of their paints. And if you haven't got any of their paints, try bold titanium white. It doesn't cost much.
And also, if I'm getting a slightly chalky texture with my Pro Acryl paints, what am I doing wrong? Someone tell me. I'd love that.
You will get a chalky texture. Yeah. It's matte paint.
Yeah, I know, but really not,
and again, as well, to be safe to them, they're another paint range where they become pre-agitated.
Yes,
they've got an agitator in there as well.
Yeah,
it is a little bit chalky, which is why I don't use it quite as much as I used to. But just look after it. You know, make sure you're closing the lid properly, and I think you're halfway there with it.
What are you taking with you?
I've already mentioned it because I just think the two things run alongside each other really nice. I'm going to take the turquoise, and when you all look at me putting it in the box, I'll then sneak the jade in when they're...
Oh, he does the cheat,
nice, yeah. I just like...
But the turquoise, it's great. Coverage for that colour is great.
Yeah, I don't know the system well enough, unfortunately. So like, I think the turquoise and jade are like a really, really cool colours that you don't necessarily... see. It's so strong and so vibrant in somewhere else. I will probably go like with the turquoise, but I love the idea of a pre-agitated paint. You just see it on the shelf being like, I'm so annoyed. You will never guess what I just heard. It's been pre-agitated. It's wonderful.
You open it, as soon as you unscrew it, it just goes... Right, as we're not going to get through them all.
Right, shall we list what we've got left? And if people want
should we rattle through them?
Oh, well, we won't. We probably won't get them. If we try to rattle, we still won't make them.
We can't get... So what we've got left is Scale 75, Dale Arowney, Colour Forge, Two Thin Coats, P3, War Colours, Coat d'Arms, Green Stuff World, Tamiya and Dark
Right,
Star.
well, ones we can do quickly. Colour Forge.
Yeah.
Sprays.
Eugene, you absolute gang of geniuses.
Yeah.
You hold more range than Games Workshop is. You've absolutely nailed colour matching.
Yeah. So more range,
bigger bottles, cheaper price.
Yeah.
And some of the when you picked all of the standard GW colours, that's not unexpected, but you did it well. And now these slightly quirkier colours that you're coming in with, like they've done. Their version of Death Guard was Death Rattle, which was really good for if you're doing Death Guards, obviously. Good if you're doing Imperial Guard tanks. And now they've just done another one, which is like, is it like Commander Green or something like that? Oh, really? So it's even more military green than
I've heard their Avalon Sunset. So they've done the Avalon Sunset.
Yellow,
and then they partnered with Valrak. And this one is more like Avalon Sunset than Avalon Sunset. So there you go.
I think the
It's
biggest.
Avalon Sunset in the Bahamas.
It's Avalon Sunset in Avaland.
On the equator of Avaland.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the biggest downside is you can't get them overseas.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a real shame. For anybody that's watching this that isn't in the UK or in the Republic of Ireland, because I know they have now pushed out into there.
Yeah.
I apologise, but I would say keep your eye open and maybe
Just
every now and
send them
again they'll
money.
just keep asking them and saying when are you going to get it.
Can we not just do that? Can they not do a Kickstarter? Like, just send us money until we can afford to ship them globally. But I think there's difficulty with
that what
shipping
it is?
Yeah,
sprays.
I think it's to do with
Yeah.
other issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But,
I know
like
obviously Citadel ship all their sprays out, but
Yeah.
They
So,
do,
yeah.
but do
It's
they ship
possible.
them out, or do they have different manufacturing? Who makes
plants
them?
and, in the are they being made at a plant in that country?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I hope they get to you all for those that don't have them, because they are great. I've now increasingly replaced all of my GW spray cans now when the MTI haven't gone back. I've gone and moved on to Colour Forge with them.
yeah.
And they've done some quirky colours that don't exist in the GW can range that I've bought just for pure curiosity. They do like a blue grey that I bought, which I tried out on my Arbite.
Yeah.
And I liked, which I've now put on some of my Crute. And their red's really nice as well. They're metallic, which is a really great stand-in for lead belcher. Really
They
good.
do the spray zenithal kits as
They
well.
do zenithal spray kits as well. Yeah,
What? They do zenithal spray kits?
Yes,
Is that
so-
like, wait, let me guess this. Bear in mind, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a spray can, and on this end it's a dark colour. You flip it around, that end it's a light colour.
That's exactly it.
Brilliant. Oh,
And not only do they do it, but they do it in tartan and camouflage paint.
brilliant. Okay, so the next one is that it's got a nozzle, and the bottom half of the nozzle sprays out a light colour, and the bottom sprays out a dark, the top sprays out
I'm
a
just
light.
going to edit to myself. It's 3 cans. It's 3 full-size cans, but they've just gone, here's your base.
Yeah.
Then spray over with that, and then do a lighter dusting of that. So it goes red, bright red, orange.
Sensible.
I still think
I like
3
your
and 1, but
version.
yeah,
I think
mine,
your version's much better.
yeah. Don't
But,
think it'd sell.
No.
Maybe an April Fool's for them, but
Maybe.
if I've got it, like I do love them. I love the value is amazing, and
Yes.
for 90% of the people out there, I think they're great. I do feel they're a little bit matte when compared to so I don't want to buy Chaos Black anymore. It's too goddamn expensive. But Chaos Black has a softer sheen finish.
More of a satin sort of finish.
Yeah, more of a
Yeah.
satin than what they've got. So when I'm dry brushing on top of their spray, it really bites the paint, and you don't get those smooth blends.
Yeah.
But unless you're doing that style of dry brushing,
As
probably
somebody who
doesn't matter.
paints on,
Yeah.
not on the realistic side, because that's obviously nonsense, but as somebody who paints, I have a naturally, as my best pal has said to me, I have a naturally darker palette with regards to my style of painting.
Yeah.
And for me, because they are matte, they're, again,
Yeah.
there's no wrong paint. Yeah, so they work really well for me in that respect. And as I don't do a lot of the dry brushing, I don't need that slightly shinier black. But
Yeah, I haven't dry brushed.
I've got their off
great
black,
deal.
which is what is that in GW? Is that Corvus black?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I've got a can of that from
Yeah.
them, and it's like Raven black or something like that. It's called. It's really good.
Yeah, because
It's
it's
like
like
Corvus Black, like a blue black. It's lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, so-
I
I love them.
like since I got more into airbrushing, I haven't used a spray can in months.
Yeah,
So I mean that's like the convenience of an airbrush. Like, hey, I mean spraying with a can arguably is more convenient, but
yeah,
like we're in an office, there's a car park downstairs. I don't want to accidentally spray anybody's car with all of that. I could take it home. If it's a bit windy, or if you haven't shut your can enough, or this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. Like I see so many. I know not Colour Forge specifically, but I've seen so many pictures recently of people with Retributor armor and a really fuzzy miniature going, what have I done wrong?
Yeah.
And they seem more like temperamental, and you need to kind of almost learn each can a bit differently.
Yeah.
Because what...
But I've got to be honest, Colour Forge has been very point and click for me. I haven't
Yeah.
gone, if I did more of that with it, or did it's, I don't want to harp on it because, but I think, it's stood me really well so far, Colour Forge. So, what Colour Forge can are you taking?
Oh God, the new one, Pete's.
Raquel Flesh, yeah.
I think
Dead animal bits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Like it's my favourite Citadel colour. He turned it into a spray. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, what's not to like?
Yeah.
Death Rattle for me, because it's matched to Death Guard Green, is chef's kiss, bang on, really well done.
Yeah.
It's so close, yeah. And the fact that they've managed to nail a GW yellow for all of the long-suffering Imperial Fist players out there on your behalf, I thank
so
for that.
the first spray that I ever used from them was Avalanche Sunset Yellow.
Yeah.
Avalanche Sunset. So I would say I would take that one with me. What I now think is not... I prefer a white prime and then Imperial Fist Yellow.
Yeah.
Because if you still want that bright yellow, you've got to build it up over Avalanche Sunset, which is a dark yellow.
Yeah.
So I actually think the contrast method is actually easier.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I'd still take the yellow because I think it's cool.
Yeah, cool.
Because I don't know the range super
Right then,
well.
who shall we do next if we're not doing
Do you
everybody?
want it as an idea? Because I'm thinking, how far are we in the episode?
Yeah.
Do we want to jump into one more, then save a few for next time, where we could also get some user suggestions for ones that we've missed?
We'll come back to this in the
because
next
I
series.
think
We're getting
scale's
into
a big conversation, two thin coats is a big conversation, and green stuff world's a conversation.
On so many levels. Yeah, Taylor Rowney or FW Inks. I love them for so many different things. First of all, without casting, pardon the pun, shade on Villainy.
Oh,
it's
Villainy inks aren't.
But what I'm going to get at
All right,
is
sorry.
dropper bottles that just work and work all the time.
Fair enough, that.
Constantly. They're spot on.
The pipette things.
Yeah, the pipette dropper bottle. It's brilliant. It's glass. It works. It's bang on. Why do I like them? I like them because they're extraordinarily smooth, and they are the reason when I said I did slightly demoted poor old Bold Titanium White was because De La Round and FW White is such a great colour if you want to mix your own paints. If you want to start pushing a white through, it comes out of that so ridiculously smooth and thin, but still so massively opaque.
Yeah.
It's just a great colour for blending. It's just a great colour for paint mixing. I love it. I'm increasingly more using for stuff from their range. Burnt Umber, Sienna, Burnt Sienna and Umber I really like, especially because one of them I currently use as a filter on my son's metal marines because they're all on a Mars base, so I give it the idea that they've been there a while, but it's not. They're not covered in sand. It's just worn in. Reasonably well priced. You don't have to worry about, how to close them. They've got a great lid on them. You can drop a bottle of them, especially good if you are going, I'm going to mix two colours, so 3 drops of this to that.
Yeah.
Really good. Hobbycraft, really, in the UK is your main place you're going to be able to get them. And I also think for what they are, they're very reasonably priced.
Yeah, Element Games stock them as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
just remind me, are these the ones in the square bottles?
Mine's not. Mine's one is a round bottle.
Like a tall round. So I've got inks, and I don't know whether they're Liquitex or they're Daler and Round.
Well, I use Liquitex as well.
And I don't know which one we're talking about.
I do. Look, I'm in this camera.
Here we go. Look, he's here.
So,
And Jeff wasn't kidding. He is wearing shorts. Let me.
Yeah.
So that's
There they are.
that's Liquitex.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is Daniel and Rowley.
Yeah, there
Yes,
we go.
okay.
Yeah.
So
They're the badges.
So they're the ones I use.
Yeah.
These are the ones I've never used.
Well, can I refrain then and just say, when I say Daler and Rowney, I'm using that as a catch-all because I use the Liquitex as well.
Proper inks, inks, basically.
Proper inks.
I do like inks. I like them very much for an airbrush approach because, again, just in, out, you don't need to thin them in my experience. They will just spray. You can use them as filters.
You absolutely have to thin AK inks.
Really?
Yeah, you've become a cropper of them early doors, didn't you?
Oh, I haven't done my hair today. I've ran out of hairspray. Terrible.
I'll cut it tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I remember.
Yeah. So the AK inks are they call them like intense inks or whatever, and it suits the name because it just covers up everything. Yeah.
Focus on me. Sorry, I was just playing with you.
It's a
But yeah, so like I've had some issue. Like again, back in the early days of following Marco. Marco is very much pro Liquitex Bold Titanium White. I tried that and I had the same issues as you, Pat, was reactivating.
Yeah.
And it did my head in. So I swapped to Tamiya White, following the guy's advice from Court of Paint. And after I cracked it, I was like, wow, not only do these dry faster, they don't reactivate, but you can build up your gradient so much better.
Yeah.
It's in fact it's difficult to get to white doing it, but yeah, these are fantastic. The one downside I would give them is for anybody out there who has, I suppose it's a rite of passage, isn't it, spilling your Agrax?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me when you've spilt the thallium blue
That'll stick to anything that it touches as well, wouldn't it?
on a white desk, several miniatures, and a carpet.
oh no!
Yeah.
And there's
That was-
so much in there.
Yes,
as well.
there is.
That was
there
his
is.
first of us.
30, so yeah, let's
I was
not try
wondering
that
why when
again.
I went round to your house, your dog had a big purple patch on it.
It's just a weird dog. But yeah, so no, I don't remember which. They've got weird names. They use the proper names.
Yeah.
They're the artist names
These
of
use the
colours.
artist standard names,
Yeah.
which miniature paint brands should do if they want to mature. But like again, it was a bright blue, and I dropped it everywhere. And yeah, so because of that, I hate them.
Oh, right,
But no,
okay.
they are good. They do have value. They're incredibly thin. They're great thin. Like you say, you can paint with it for anyone who struggles with a thin white, or you get a thin brush, and then by the time you've raised that brush to the model,
dried out, yeah.
it's dried out.
Not with them boys.
Inks are
Yeah.
potentially the
Oh,
solution.
okay.
Yeah.
So you
But
would.
especially good if you live warm country,
Yeah.
their inks are really handy.
Yeah. And
That's
if you
good.
but they are very thin, so it's one of those, you've kind of got to know stuff with them. So get your brush wet, but don't leave it full of moisture. Like dampen it off on a
Yeah.
tissue before picking up your paint, otherwise it will just flood.
I find as
Yes.
well with like the umber and the burnt sienna, which like I say I use the burnt sienna a lot over lead belcher.
Yeah.
It doesn't coffee stain
No.
anywhere near as much as GW contrasts do.
Yes.
It moves around the miniature where you want it to, and it doesn't. When it does settle, it doesn't seem to coffee stain. It's a really good. They're really good for patina sort of effect.
Oh,
I
okay.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of time for them. Again, like we said, with everything else, it takes a little bit of learning, but they are just really good. I think they just are.
Yeah, I like own several inks, but I haven't used them loads. It was always
Yeah.
something that I was like quite keen to
Yeah.
experiment with, but then because it was like, oh, I'm getting into airbrushing, I should get some inks. But then had issues with everybody watching this will probably know Pat can't use white inks.
No, it's not just you, it's me. I struggle. Yeah, same reason.
So and I reached for the Tamiya paints first.
Yeah.
Right then. So
I don't know what I'd take with
So
me.
it'd be hard.
ink-wise.
It'd be hard for you to say if you don't use them. But
Yeah.
for me, it would be the FW white because it's great for mixing and it works well as a paint on white. But you've got to be quick with it.
Yeah.
You've got to know how
Yeah.
to use it. But yeah, really good. Shall we put the ones out there that we haven't touched?
Yes, and then
So,
people
and
let us
then-
know. You haven't asked me which one I'd take.
Oh, sorry, sausage.
It's fine. Thanks, babe. I'd empty it out and then I'd fill it with streaking grime. And oh, come on, you did you? And when you weren't looking, I'd sneak it in my pocket.
I know.
Well,
That's
when you guys aren't looking, I'm taking a whole case of AK paint. But yeah, so the ones we haven't touched then. So scale 75,
Yep, still to
Yeah.
do. Some of that I really like, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
DOS Thin Os Cotos.
Oh, is that the Spanish version of Duncan's paints?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
El
Dale.
Dunco.
Yeah. El Dunco.
El Dunco, yeah.
Diablo.
Yeah.
El Dunco de la Muerte.
Okay. That
Why
sounds
not?
fair.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 thin coats.
Still made in Liverpool, really weird.
Yes. Reaper.
Reaper, I want to talk about Reaper.
P3.
P3, better
Some
than
of these are
P2,
your-
not as good as P4.
See, we're getting into the ranges that I
Yeah,
am
these
less
are
and less
fringe
familiar
ranges.
with. Yeah.
Watercolours.
Watercolours.
Coat to arms, which is a really interesting one to talk
It
about.
is, yeah.
Green Stuff World. Tamiya, which you are a bit of a champion of Tamiya, so you can fight your corner.
Only in a specific way, though.
Yeah, but that's fine.
No, do it.
And then Dark Star.
Dark Star. Dark Star's a good one. I want to talk about Dark Star.
I have lots of loves and dislikes with Dark Star. We'll talk about them on a future one.
Are there any other paint ranges?
That we
talk about? Because we'll go and look at them.
One. Talk to us. Tell us whether we were right, wrong, usually wrong.
You say this is a part 1. We've still got part 2 of...
We've got loads,
You know that one where we ranked everything that you hated editing?
Yeah.
We've got part 2 of that.
We do have part 2 of that. Yeah.
So we're waiting for people to put comments.
Good, but it's feedback.
It
is.
And then we'll
miniature
painting.
It lets us actually engage the audience.
It's nice.
So we'll do them other ones next time. We'll do them other ones next time and tell us your thoughts on the ones we've talked about.
Yeah.
And tell us your thoughts on ones we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah.
And we'll do our best
I feel like which I didn't expect at the start, have seemed to have championed army painted quite a bit, which I'm
good on you.
I'm quite happy about.
Lovely people.
Yeah.
Good on you.
I'm just winding up now. I'm tired. It's been a long morning, a long day. I'm an old man now. I'm 40.
You need your kip, don't you? Mid-afternoon sleep.
I do. Yeah. Go and have a siesta. And it's hot. We're not used to this. We're not used to this in the UK.
But what we are used to is losing the football. Yeah.
Will it be disciplined?
It will. By the time this goes out, it'll be like, what? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So worst of it was, I'm convinced there was people who were in that crowd who worked for Vallejo and AK. On that.
Oh dear!
Thank you very much,
my
everybody.
kids stayed up.
They're
a lot of.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was saying they're 8 and 9, and when it was finished, they were like, "Oh, they were sad." I was like, "Well, there you go, kids. That's
being British.
Yeah, that's being British. Like you got to see your first major England loss.
Yes.
Well done.
Many more to come.
Yeah. I've had 40 years of it.
40 years of hurt.
Well, it's like 60 odd now, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I'm not a football fan. I'm generally not a team sports watcher. Because I've never really gotten into it, but then also I think it's probably like a defense mechanism, just to protect my well-being. Like you see people going like yes, and they have that elation when their team wins, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm missing out. I'm not part of a big group. I'm not feeling that sort of massive rush of adrenaline and happiness and just like, oh my god. But then I'm also protecting myself from 60 years of just sadness. Crushing disappointment.
Yeah. Yes, there is that.
I saw a great tweet, X, whatever it is, that was like, watching England play football is like having an emotionally unavailable boyfriend. They're just so terrible for such a long time. And then just as you're about to leave, they'll put in the bare minimum amount of effort to make you think that they've changed. Yeah. And then you'll be like, fine, I'll stick around a little bit longer.
My favourite.
That's how I ended up getting married.
And my favourite one the other day was, It's Coming Home is just the male equivalent of Live, Laugh, Love.
Right, we've peaked. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Patreon.
Thank you, Patreon.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.